Welcome to the world of the Mighty Baker, where cake is life. This is the Mighty Baker podcast. I am Pete Tidwell, your host. I am a custom cake artist, bakery business coach, certified life coach, and the CEO at my bakery business, the Mighty Baker. You might have seen me winning Food Network's Cake Wars, competing on Halloween Baking Championship, or have tasted one of my custom cakes or desserts. Either way, I am happy that you are here today. I am obsessed with the art of baking, but I'm even more passionate about helping others live a happy life. Join me here every Wednesday as I share highlights and learnings from my ongoing journey as a bakery business owner. I will also be sharing positive mindset tips and business and life tips along the way, as well as inviting some of my baker friends that I've met over the years on TV baking competition shows. Through the Mighty Baker newsletter, podcast, keynote cake battles, and bakery business coaching, I not only help you become a mighty baker, but I also teach you how to live a mighty happy life. Let's go. Hey, what's up, you guys? Pete Tidwell here with the Mighty Baker podcast. I am so excited to be back with you today. This is really exciting, you guys. I love being able to go through some of the beginnings of my journey as a baker. This is not only helpful for me, but it's also helpful for me as a bakery business coach, so I can look back through my journey and see of the things that I did well, the things that I wish I would have done, or things that I wish I wouldn't have done. And I hope that these can be of value to those of you out there that are listening, whether you're a bakery business owner or whether you own a different kind of business. Being an entrepreneur, opening a small little business is no walk in the park, and it is so many ups and downs, so many sacrifices, and we're going to jump in today into this. So first off, one thing I didn't share last time that I wanted to share this week was of the name, the Mighty Baker. People always ask, where did the name come from? And the name actually came from my wife. So while I was living in New York City, I started baking, as I mentioned, on the side and making cakes and those things. And my wife, for my birthday one year, she gave me well, first of all, she started a blog for me. You can still find it to this day. I think it's themightybaker.blogspot.com, and it still exists, and it's got all my old school stuff on it. It's a pretty interesting trip down memory lane to go there. And then she also gave me a book where I could put my printed pictures or whatever I wanted in there to kind of track my journey, and she made it the Mighty Baker. And then she also gave me an iPod for my birthday that said Pete Tidwell, the Mighty Baker on the back of it. So that was the beginning of it. So when we moved to Utah and I decided to open up a bakery business, it kind of just made sense to call it the Mighty Baker. And I love it because now it's stuck for 10 years and I love it so much. And it's very fortuitous that it fits in very well with my life coaching and positive mindset and just being mighty and finding the mightiest version of yourself. How do you want to show up on a daily basis, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you have family and you're a business owner and all these things? It's very involved, right? And anyway, so let's jump right in. So where we left off last time is I was living at my parents' house. I had just moved back from New York City with my wife and my two daughters, and we came to house sit for my parents while they were gone for a couple years. And I wanted to open up my bakery business. I couldn't open up a bakery shop, and so what I did is I opened my business and established it, created my LLC, went through all that processing, business licensing, and then going through the Utah Cottage Food Law, which is through the Department of Agriculture, to license my parents' home kitchen as a business kitchen. So I did that and operated my business from there. I'm going to go into some other details, but also, about a couple years after that, we ended up moving to West Provo, down off Geneva Road, and did the same process, licensing my home kitchen there as a business kitchen as well. And so as we go across this journey, this episode, just keep in mind that these are happening at my parents' house as well as at this new home that we moved into as well. So, as a new business owner, opening a new bakery business or any business for that matter, you cannot rely on it to make money and support a family. So, in the beginning, when I first moved back to Utah, I wanted to open a bakery business. So, I did, but I still needed income to support my family. We had young kids at home. My wife was at home. I needed something to make money to support my family. So I went out and got a full-time marketing job at doTERRA, which is a local company here in Utah that sells essential oils. I worked on their corporate side, and I worked in product marketing. I also worked as a corporate communications manager, as well as I managed their 501c3 charity organization, the Healing Hands Foundation, where I was able to have some really amazing experiences going to Ghana and Africa and Guatemala and South America. Super amazing experiences there. But I share that because it was a full-time job and I excelled at my job. I did very, very well. And I worked probably 45, 50 hours a week. And then I would work on my bakery business on nights and weekends. And because I was so dedicated and wanting to do this, like I worked on this all the time. So nights and weekends, my wife and I would prep for the farmers market. My wife did a lot of cookie prep because at the same time, I was trying to build out my cake business. So my wife would help me bake my cookies for the farmer's market, and she'd help put those together. And then I would work on trying to get more cake business. And there's a couple things that I did to do that. So first off, I decided to join a couple local cake decorating competitions, one being the Springville Art City Days cake competition. And I did that a couple years, even before I went to New York too, but I continued doing these. And through these competitions, I met my first cake friend, which is Katrina Jones. And you'll hear more about her in future episodes, and I'm even going to have her here on as a guest in the future. I'm really excited about that. But she was my very first cake friend. I competed in these cake competitions, and I went to the cake competitions. I'm a very kind, nice person, and I tried talking to a few people in the competition, and a lot of people were very standoffish and didn't really want to talk to me. And there was one person, Katrina Jones, that was my next door neighbor in the competition. And I got to know her, and I was very excited. Anyway, I'm still friends with her to this day, and we'll talk about her more later in the future, but she's amazing. So I did that first off to hone into my skills as a cake decorator. And then I had some other fun opportunities come. So my aunt, Kathy, she was involved with the Sundance Film Festival, an indie lounge that was up there, and she invited me to come make a cake and bring it to this indie lounge. Even to this day, Kathy, my aunt, is a very great marketer for my business. She's actually helped me get a lot of business over the years. I should probably interview her on here as well. And she got me this opportunity, and I made this Sundance Film Festival cake. And it was such a fun experience to make this cake and show up to all these people and show them this cool cake. And I was really excited about that. And it was kind of some of my beginnings of getting excited about doing cakes for bigger events, not just weddings, but just other types of events as well. One other thing that I did too, in addition to the farmers market, speaking of which, plug for the farmers market. Those of you out there that are running small bakery or cake businesses, the farmers markets are your friends. Those places are places where you can get some good feedback on your recipes, on your desserts from customers, and just exposure, getting yourself out there for a low cost. That is the number one reason why I decided to do the farmers market, because I could do it for 20, 30 bucks a week, and I could go in at a low cost and then sell my products and then get some feedback from them as well. So it was a great launching ground. And so I would suggest looking into farmers markets if you're getting into the bakery business as a way to get your products in the front of customers and in their mouth so they can taste your delicious baked goods. And the other thing I did too, at the farmer's market, I talked about my wedding cakes. I had pictures of my wedding cakes up in my stand and those kind of things. But one of the other things I did in the beginning when I first moved to Utah is I saw a bridal expo, and I'm like, oh, I want to do wedding cakes, so let's do a bridal expo. So I made like 5 wedding cakes, like display wedding cakes, all styrofoam in the inside. But I made these, and then I brought them to this bridal expo and gave out like hundreds of samples and all sorts of things. And the interesting thing from the learning of this, like I look back at it, and at the time, like right after the expo, my response would have been, I am never doing one of these ever again in my life. Because, like, actually, maybe not right after, but a couple months after, like even 6 months after, a year after, I never saw anything from this, like at all. Like, no wedding cake business, no clients, like nothing. Everybody that came to the bridal expo were just shopping around. Nobody was ready to make commitments or anything like that. Anyway, so I thought it was a complete waste of time. But there's one redeeming thing that happened from this. Because I did that expo and spent $600-700 on this, plus all the, cost of providing samples and making all these cakes and everything. It was probably out $1,000. Didn't have anything to show for it. But then I ended up getting a client from that was completely unrelated to weddings that I ended up doing a lot of business with. So that's just something to show, like, you never know. Like, you never know, and it's hard to say. And going back, like, it was a hard decision to make, and I still kind of have that in my mind as like that's my advice for anybody that would be trying to do an expo. Like, is an expo really worth it? It is, but keep in mind that the other people coming to the expo, there are other people other than people that want wedding cakes, and how can you capitalize on that? And how can you market some of your other products in front of those people? Because the majority of the people coming through the bridal conference or the bridal expo, like, are already married, or they're, a mother or father of the bride or friend, and market your other products to them. Take that advantage of doing that. So this beginning of working from home, like, I operated my business from home for 2.5 years. And we had bakery racks in our house. We had a separate refrigerator for business. I had separate pantry items. Like, it overtook our house. We had a very small house too that we moved into. It was like 1,400 square feet, and I had 3 kids, and like, it was crazy. It was kind of insane, but it was also super fun. Like, I made some really cool wedding cakes from home, some cool corporate cakes. I made this cool soccer cake. It was a Real Madrid cake that was ordered, and it was like a miniature stadium with like little soccer players inside. And I made this in the beginning. I look back at it and I'm like, that's cool. Like, it was almost 10 years ago I made that cake, and still to this day, I'm very proud of myself for doing it because it looked amazing for being 10 years ago. It was incredible. And I had so many more fun cakes that came out of that era. If you're curious about which cakes I made, go to my Instagram and go to my highlights. And the very first highlight of like all my cakes that I've done, you have to kind of slide over to get to them. But go there and you can check out the highlights of all the cakes I made during these years. The other thing I was going to mention in this podcast episode too was, in that era too, I was trying to figure out from a growth perspective how I was going to grow my bakery business. Like, do I open up a storefront? Do I get a food truck? Do I do this? Like, what do I do next as my business expands? And at the time, the only thing that made sense or cost-wise was buying a food truck and doing some kind of bakery food truck. So funny, many people out there that have bought things from me or followed me for a long time probably never knew that I had a bakery food truck because I never opened it. I bought a truck, I got it painted black, I bought all the equipment to go inside, like the sinks and the counters and the cabinets, the hot water heaters, like all the things, the grease traps, like all the things, right? And then ended up selling it and deciding to open up a storefront instead. So kind of interesting. So I had this truck for probably like a year and a half. I would use it to bring stuff to the farmer's market to and from. And then I just ended up selling it and not using it for a bakery food truck. And so this is kind of where we're going to end off this week, because where I kind of brought myself to at that point, it was in 2014, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start scouting out locations and looking and see what that even looks like. How much is that going to even cost? I had no clue. I've never done anything like this before. So I went out to different locations. Some, were fair. Some were really expensive. Some, made more sense than others. And that's what I'm going to share in next week's episode, is that journey of actually finding a location to be able to open up in for a low cost, so that I could actually open my business and not completely drain myself. So we're going to go into that, and then some of the learnings that went into that, and maybe some retrospect learnings as well, looking into maybe ways that I wish I would have built things a little bit differently in my bakery business had I done it different. Anyway, we're going to end off there, and I hope all of you are having an amazing day. I hope that any of you out there that are bakery business owners, please message me if you want me to cover anything specific or shoot me questions, because I really am recording this podcast and providing this because I want to share my story, and I want to share the things in my story that will be valuable to you as my listeners. Like, what is it that would be of value? Like, I am been sharing some things of some successes, some things that were hard, some learnings, but I want to know from you, like, what is it that you want to hear, and what would be the most value to learn from me as you listen through these podcast episodes. So please feel free to shoot me some feedback. Other than that, I hope you all are having an amazing day. Keep it up as well. If you're a bakery business owner and you're trying to run it on the side of a full-time job or a part-time job, I ran it on the side of a full-time job for 2.5 years, and then did it again for 3 years, and I'll talk about that in a future episode. Hang in there. You got to do what you got to do sometimes, and sometimes there are hard work and long days to go into it to help things actually kind of move forward. But keep in mind, take care of yourself. That is one thing that I didn't do over the years, is take care of yourself, take breaks, take self-care days, and remember to do it, because you're important. If you don't take care of yourself, your business is not going to exist. So you as a business owner need to take care of yourself and help yourself be in a good state, so that you can be the best owner and the mightiest version of yourself, so that you can show up in all the areas of your life, not just your business. And that's what I'm here for. I am here sharing those pieces of value as a business coach as well. Please reach out to me if you would like some business coaching. Other than that, we'll see you for next week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. See ya. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Season 2 is going to be incredible, so please keep joining us. The Mighty Baker has a lot of exciting things going on. Head to themightybaker.com or follow us on social media at The Mighty Baker to stay updated on what we have coming down the pipeline. Are you or someone you know a bakery business owner? If so, you gotta check out my bakery business coaching. I am now taking on one-on-one clients and helping them create sweet success in their bakery business and their life. Head to bakerybusinesscoach.com to learn more about my coaching program and sign up for a free 30-minute coaching session. I want to coach you on any bakery business problem that is holding you back from growing and from enjoying your everyday life. Please join us next time on the Mighty Baker podcast. This is your host, Pete Tidwell, signing off and reminding you to make your day a mighty one.